In these United States of America, we American Indians, we can be anything we want to be. Except American Indians. If you want to see an example of failed socialism, go to an Indian reservation.
In my mind, from what I understand and what my family has told me through, stories, we were able to roam free. So we were very active, and we moved through the land, and we took care of the plants and the animals, but we also lived, in harmony, and I believe it was a beautiful time. We were a free people, absolutely free.
Do beso do chiyan alsko alkilt ego alsko ni kwasne betha na nigi alkilt edolil danila daagi eshi olye.
Socialism, I believe, began with the Long Walk. The Long Walk was when Manifest Destiny crossed the United States. They had the railroads coming through. People needed to build homes, get to California, and the Indian nations were in the way. That's when they decided to send in the military, and they moved them across the reservation, and they were taken to a place called Bosque Redondo. People were killed along the way. A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so people did, the women did get raped.
Now we'll call it Huerte Fort Sumner.
What does that mean?
Huerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good, just like Nazi concentration camps.
They had an idea of turning these nomadic tribes, hunter and gatherers, into farmers. They wanted us to farm, but nothing was growing. So they were freaked out too, and I'm like, they don't think anyone really knew what to do. And that's when we called for, treaties. And after we agreed on it, the treaty is very simply written, and they allowed us to come home.
Nunzinigi Washington Yirako Yinel Ago Enedo Lish Ado ni Washington Yirako Yinel Ago Esto Netseto Lish.
So they were given American names. You were given a CIB, an actual number, and then you were given family cards. And so there began your family tree. So that number entitled you to a ration, and that's where you began to get your, what was due to you. So that's where the parameters of control, and we couldn't leave the reservation. Back then, no one had diabetes and nobody was overweight because we lived off the land and we moved a lot. But we were heavily assimilated where we became more dependent on the system. And that's where socialized programs came into play because there was never enough food, there was no refrigeration. So then let's start the commodity food program where everything came in cans, which where high sodium was introduced, high sugar was introduced. And so that's where the health of the people began to take a dive.
That system is rife with waste, abuse, and malpractice. It's been said and written that, if you control the healthcare, you can control the population. And all that power and control over our lives, since healthcare sometimes is a life or death decision, is in the hands of the very bureaucrats and politicians in DC whom we don't trust. Many of the native tribes are seeking to have independent healthcare because of just all of the abuse.
The values that they're really pushing currently are liberalism, and that's a stepping stone to socialism and eventually to communism. And that how I tracked it back, because I started to see how education was part of it. Now they control our education system. They tell us what we can and cannot learn. And as I understood that, that's when I pulled my children out of school. Because when they started bringing home applications, and I thought it was a job application, but when I looked closer at it, my son showed me it was a food stamp application.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in. And I didn't realize what a socialistic community, how socialistic it was. It's really severe with some of my peers, my old peers, because they're in poverty and they don't know it.
Socialism binantlagi ya tinebe peso
The people that we voted in to lead us, I mean, there's some good, yes. And there's some that, I mean, you hear about what they say and what they're going to do, but you know what? When they get in, it's the same thing.
So now, because of the government is in such big control, you have to ask the question, how is the most heavily funded in America tribe have the poorest population? The money that comes from the federal government is provided by programs. They don't give you checks. We don't get, a per diem or whatever just for being part of the tribe. No, we get nothing as Navajos. Only way you can get anything from the government is if you are the lowest of the low. So basically, when you're in that environment, you basically have to sell off your freedom piece by piece in order to qualify for every little program. So the programs end up hurting us, and they numb us to what we actually need by providing us what they think we need.
I think those are the challenges that we're looking at in these socialist style governments where, everything sounds great, is because you give too much power and control to a small group of people, and they don't want to give that up. The tribal government's controlling various aspects of commerce, of utility management, of the lack of private property ownership on the reservation. So, again, all of these systems de-incentivize, ownership. They de-incentivize people from, opportunity, other than, the jobs that exist within government.
So when the enterprises were created, they were essentially made to give skills to the Navajo people. And these enterprises were created to basically help introduce us into the modern age. And now they've morphed into something completely different in this modern age. The enterprises have become a for-profit entity for our own government. And that's what socialism has really wrapped us around, and now it's starting to show communistic characteristics.
Nenandnishiki tontadnishi panandnish aashist ego hoye bi ne darolis eatisne socialism.
To teach my husband too, who was a product of socialism, hardcore socialism. And so he was only educated into the really heavy, hardcore reservation life.
All right. Growing up, it's been really tough. I lost my mom when I was 5 years old due to my father drinking and I guess domestic violence and stuff. I guess it took his anger out on my mom, my late mom. But he was so angry driving recklessly that my mom just didn't want nothing to do with him. And he jumped out of the vehicle with my 1-year-old brother. My 1-year-old brother survived, but he broke his right leg, and my mom died right there. So it's been tough. It's been something that I don't think I've never forgot. I can't forget it. I can't, because I was there, and it's been nightmare ever since I was 5.
And he witnessed all this, and so that was heavy, heavy socialism that my heart just broke for him. And when someone is in that prison and they get angry, I had to fight through that anger. And my theme, I always told him, is I will fight you to save you.
Just recently, a couple of years ago, I lost my brother, I lost my brother to the exact same thing, but he passed away. And I always said that socialism took my brother because he turned to drugs, he turned to alcoholism, and he couldn't find work. And it's just, he wanted to check out. And socialism took him. And it really hurt my feeling that I couldn't help him, and I couldn't save him.
There are so many people dragging their feet and pointing fingers. And people like me, I can't sell a thing. Something's got to happen. And quit pointing fingers and so get together, get our heads together and do it. That's what I think, instead of pointing fingers, say, hey, no, let's all combine, let's all get together and let's kick this thing in the butt and move on.
I choose not to go in a socialistic state. I do not want socialism. I don't want socialism for her or for my grandkids. No, I don't want that for them. I want them to be happy and live their life to their fullest, bring happiness for their kids. It hasn't been working for almost, what? 150 years. And it sucks. Socialism sucks. There's no other word, there's no other way you can describe it. It fucking sucks.
Me as a mother, what do? You have to first take control of yourself, then you have to work with your spouse, and then you take control of your children, then you take control of your pocketbook, and then you decide to get off the programs. And how do you do that? Through self-sufficiency. So my life and my tale and my truth has been to fight socialism. And I'm hoping that I can wake up as many Navajos as I can to tell them that you can do this.
I think the best way that we can honor our ancestors and everything that they overcame for us to benefit today from all of these opportunities is to become successful and to take advantage of the opportunities that they never had.
Freedom is everything. It's in everything. And so when socialism creeps in, it's scary because they don't give you a choice and you're just given what you're given and you can't say anything.
Yeah, even if I have to fight you to save you. And I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people. Even though they are so harsh on social media and they completely hammer at me, I tell them, I'll be here even if I have to fight you to save you.
Ayo